Hey everyone, welcome back to the Glass Seats podcast. This is our show where two hockey aficionados discuss their perspectives on headlines surrounding the NHL, including recent stories, game highlights, league culture, and other topics trending amongst the fans. This is Viddy.
And my name is Mrinal, and this week in hockey, I think we are officially in the off season.
Yes, we are bored. We are big bored.
It's a lull. I find myself going to the TV being like, is there sports on? There is not.
It's Formula One, I guess.
Yeah, but that's only on the weekends.
It's true.
Every other weekend.
Danny Rick's back.
Danny Rick is back.
That's
I
good.
am very happy about that.
Yeah, me too.
Yes.
Me too. We
The
have a
Honey
reason
Badger,
to watch.
baby.
We have a reason to watch again. Let's go.
Yeah, Max is still going to win, but
Yeah.
maybe there'll be some fighting for P15 in that Alpha Tauri.
Hey, come on. Yuki's got it a little bit.
But hockey-wise,
Yeah.
it's pretty quiet.
Yeah.
Few agents still getting signed out there. Connor Bedard signed his ELC with the Blackhawks.
Oh, I didn't see that actually. Yeah.
Yeah, he'll probably be playing this year.
Yeah. No minors.
Yeah, no minors for Bedard. Coming in right away. Should be really interesting, actually, when Bedard gets in. You're going to have McDavid, Bedard, and Matthews all at once.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be good.
Yeah. I mean, well, it's hard to discount Crosby right away, but yeah, I guess he's not one of the young guys, so.
Yeah, I mean, the Metro had the dominance for so long with Crosby and Ovechkin. Now
Yeah.
the other three divisions are like, no, we're going to get everything else.
Yeah. You think Ovechkin's actually going to beat that goal? I feel like he could.
I am cheering for my man right there.
Oh, yeah.
I'm cheering for him.
Yeah.
I think, at some point during this offseason, we should do an episode on like storylines we're looking forward to.
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely one that I want to talk about.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, we are in offseason, so I think we're going to have a little bit fun with some of these episodes because this is our show.
Yeah.
And we can do what we want.
Yeah.
So today we're going to talk about things that we love about the NHL.
Mm-hmm.
I think in episode 1 of this show, we talked about why we're hockey fans and, why we love kind of the game. But why do we watch the NHL? What do we love about watching the NHL? Not only why do we watch, why do we keep watching, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So, that sound good to you?
Yeah, works for me.
All right. So I guess I can go first.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I think the best thing that I love about the NHL is that they have nailed the format for watching hockey.
Yeah.
Now, what do I mean by format, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to start in and then go out.
Mm-hmm.
First off, 3 periods instead of 2 halves or 4 quarters.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Really?
Yes.
That made that much of a difference to you?
Yes.
Why?
Because I think 20 minutes is the perfect amount of time where it's long enough that it doesn't feel like it breaks up the flow too much
Mm-hmm.
and short enough that it's over quickly and it doesn't feel like it's dragging.
Got it.
So if I compare to other sports, like when I'm watching NBA games, I feel like the flow kind of gets broken up with the quarters.
Yeah.
Because quarters are 12 minutes in the NBA?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you're seeing this back and forth, especially in a game like basketball where it's not like hockey where every goal is like a big thing, right? And there's a lot of build up. You're scoring all the time in NBA. It's kind of that slow build of who's gradually scoring at a higher rate, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then the quarter ends, then possession changes or sides change.
Yeah.
I find it a little jarring, to be honest.
Yeah. And there's all the free throws and stuff too. Yeah.
Yeah. So with a game that flows so much like hockey, I think the 20-minute period is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
It's enough that, like, when I'm really into a game, I can look at the clock and see 18 minutes left, watch the play, and look back up and be like, oh, there's only 4 minutes left.
Yeah.
It flies.
Yeah.
So I love that.
Yeah.
Then after the 3 periods, if there's a tie, 3-on-3 overtime.
Mm-hmm.
Perfection.
Yeah. When we first started watching, was it 5-on-5? Or
it was
4-on-4. Yeah. Okay. I at some point I didn't really recognize that it was just 3-on-3. All of a sudden, overtime started becoming way more interesting. And I was like, something changed about it, and I couldn't figure it out for like a year and a half. And I was like, oh shoot, that's right. There's just only 3 players now.
1 less defenseman now.
Way better now. Yeah, because something's actually going to happen. Most likely going to happen.
Yeah, the ice opens up so much more. You see so many more skill plays.
Yes.
Like I think of players like Johnny Gaudreau or Trevor Zegras or who was the guy on the Sharks? Like Kevin LeBanc somehow just comes alive when there's more ice.
Yeah.
Like I think
that's another thing too. Actually,
Yeah.
there's players that aren't the superstar. They're not the Carlsons or whatever, but they're making big plays now all of a sudden because they have a little bit more extra room, and all of a sudden they're a different beast. You don't see that when it's 4-on-4 or 5-on-5 necessarily.
Yeah. And it makes the face off so much more important.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of easy in regulation play to kind of dismiss the face off because you're like, okay, they're going to get one possession. Eventually, if you can't get the puck from them, they're going to take a shot. Most likely, the goalie's going to get it or they're going to miss, right? Goals are rare. But suddenly in overtime, the whole thing is about possession, right?
Yeah.
And you see coaches have kind of figured this out in recent years where they won't take a shot unless it's a really good one.
Yeah. They'll go back.
They'll go back,
Yeah.
you know? So then you're kind of watching the cycle game. And I know people get bored. They say, no, you should shoot more. You should hit more. That's what they want from hockey. But
the 3-on-3 overtime tension is really like...
I love the tension's the right word.
Yeah.
I love how they build that tension.
Yeah.
And I don't mind watching them cycle because I love watching a play develop.
Yeah.
And I can see it develop and I can see, oh no, they're not going to do it because, the defending team's in the right position. They're not going to take that shot.
Yeah.
So, and then eventually, they get tired and they have to change. Someone makes a mistake and then suddenly it's over.
Yeah.
Right? Love that tension.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of tension, the next level, which this might be a little controversial, I have no problem with a shootout.
Really?
I have no problem with a shootout.
Why is that?
Because this is the regular season. I don't want to watch a game fucking forever.
That's true. That makes sense.
I got 2.5 to 3 hours.
Yeah.
Do the shootout, right?
Yeah.
It's like penalty kicks in soccer. And no, I don't want to, and I don't want ties for all you fans of ties.
Yeah.
No. Garbage. You watch 2.5 and nobody wins? No.
Yeah.
This is sports making someone win.
Yeah.
Right? So I love this format. 3 periods where it flows. Tension building overtime. And if it still isn't resolved, it's just one-on-one.
Yeah.
Every move matters. Every inch matters from both a goalie and a shooter.
Yeah.
I love it. I think I told the story in the first episode too, but the very first hockey game that I went to a shootout.
Yeah.
And I was instantly like in.
Yeah.
This is it. This was the sport for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think part of the reason it's good too is because when you have 82 games a season for all 32 teams, nobody wants to have, like, what happens if one team suddenly has 5 overtimes to play, more often than 40% more than the rest of the teams? That's going to cause a lot of issues later on.
You're saying if there was unlimited overtime?
Yeah. If it was in the playoffs, you kind of need a shootout to wrap it up eventually because, I mean, fans also have work to go to, teams got to go to other cities and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, come on, most games are on a weekday.
Yeah.
Right.
And I agree. Part of that is I agree with the whole, just wrapping it up and being done, no ties or nothing, because then if you're home fans and you watch a shootout or you're in overtime and then all of a sudden it goes to shootout, now there's going to be a conclusion to this game soon. So either you go home and whatever, your team doesn't win, you go home and it's whatever, and there's always next time. Or your team wins and you're like, hey, you want to go get a beer at the arena or near the arena right after the game. And then you go home in a good mood, all happy because it wrapped up in a timely manner. Yeah. So it makes sense, actually.
Yeah, it's not and to be fair, I think having unlimited overtime in the playoffs, I don't have a problem with that either. Because one, the playoffs are so rare, right? It's a month and a half?
Yeah.
Right?
There's more on the line, too.
There's more on the line. And yes, I will concede shootout hockey is not real hockey. I get that.
Yes, yeah.
So having the playoffs settled by real hockey, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I agree.
But for the regular season, ending in a shootout, perfect.
Would you say, I mean, it doesn't happen very often, but every once in a while there's like it happened with the Panthers where it went to triple overtime, quadruple overtime or something like that. Would you say for every 2 overtime periods they should go it'll go in first overtime and double overtime should be 5-on-5, and then triple overtime and quadruple overtime should it be 4-on-4, and then should it go 3-on-3 if it goes to a 5th overtime? Or do you think it should just stay 5-on-5 the whole time?
Regular season or playoffs?
Playoffs.
No, just leave it 5-on-5. We are trying to have this whole tournament to determine who is the best at hockey.
Right.
Don't change the rules in the middle of the game. It's hockey all the way through.
Got it. I mean, no, what if this is a new rule implemented before the season starts?
Yeah, it still feels because you changed the strategy, right? We just talked about it. When you go to 3-on-3, your entire strategy for hockey changes.
Right.
Right? And I don't think you should be doing that in the playoffs.
So
for this 2 months of playoff hockey, having this continuous game, I think makes sense.
Got it.
Sudden death, next goal wins is just the most logical way to end the game, right?
Right.
And if it wasn't for the length of a season and the fact of how games are scheduled on weekdays and all those things, I might even say, okay, bring that to the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that there's 82 games and most of them are, you got to make sure they fit on TV slots and make sure they fit people's lives,
mm-hmm.
then that's why I think shootout in a regular season game is fine.
Right. But like for the playoffs, wouldn't you say like there was some game this offseason that went to like quadruple or the fifth overtime or something like that. And it was getting to the point where like player exhaustion or was like a safety factor. You know what I mean? It was like 1 a.m. Or I think it was a Dallas-Seattle game at some point. It was like 1 a.m. or 1:30 a.m. in Dallas at that point. And the players were clearly exhausted, as anyone should be. But like, don't you think like at that point it's like, all right, let's wrap this shit up? Like, you don't feel that way?
I would rather they pause the game and just resume it like the next night or something.
Oh, hell no. No, I'm not. Because, okay, yeah, I'm the same way with like TV series too. I'm like, no, I gotta watch this all the way through. And it doesn't matter how long it takes. Like, I want it to conclude, but like, please let it conclude type of deal.
But could you imagine the tension against fans that whole day?
No,
the whole day.
That's like
coaches get an extra 12 hours to come up with a new strategy.
Why? There's got to be a game show like this. I don't know why. This reminds me of like The Bachelor or something.
Why?
Where it's just like, find out next time on the Big Brother. That's what it was. Big Brother. Yeah. And they're like, find out next time on Big Brother or something like that. Yeah. I'm like, dude, who wants to watch like find out next time on Game 2 of the Stanley Cup play? No. What?
Imagine you missed it because you had something and then you find out it's not over.
Yeah. Yeah.
That'd be cool.
No.
That would be so cool.
That would be so exhausted. No, that would be like a whole nother. Because the thing is, like, when you are mentally engaged as a player and as a fan, and as a ref, if they still do that, like,
wow. All right.
Jesus. If you're still mentally engaged, you could redo that again the next time for the next second half.
Yep.
So that makes it like an 8-game series, basically.
Yeah, but
or 9-game, depending on how many overtimes there are.
Yeah. I think it'd be epic.
No, I disagree. I'm gonna have to go ahead and draw the line there. This one's got to be done in one night. I'm sorry.
All right,
or one night, one morning, whatever.
Speaking of playoffs, I just wanted to add on one thing to my point.
Yeah,
I have no problem with the current playoff format.
Well, yeah, I guess they did change it recently, right? Well, when we first started watching, it was one.
It's
1v8. Yeah, 1v8, 2v7.
It's been this division format for a while now. We're old.
Yeah,
but
I don't know.
Yeah, so if you're not familiar, the current format is in each division, the second and third place team play each other.
Mm-hmm.
The first place team from each division, and the next two in the last two in the conference. So what that means is like Pacific and Central are make up the Western Conference. So the top Pacific team and the top Central team will match up against either Pacific or Central team that was in the 4-5 slot. And it's based off of points in the regular season, right?
Yeah.
So I get it is a little confusing, but I think the end result is perfect, and I would not change that because I want to play division rivals in round one. And I do not care if the division rivals were the best teams across the NHL.
Got it.
So I think the common gripe that people have is like, for example, if two best teams in the NHL are both in the same division, then the playoff round matchup is going to be done in like round one or round two, right? I'm fine with that. I will take that loss because I would rather have the tournament set up the way it is, where in the later rounds, you're meeting teams you haven't met that often.
Yeah.
And that's how it should be, right? Every other level of sport is like this,
Yeah.
you know? Like you can imagine even when we were in high school, right? Your high school sports, you play your rival teams all through the season.
Yeah.
And then when you start going like divisional or state, it's some school you've never heard of before.
Yeah.
Right? That you have to beat in this final tournament to be like champion of the state or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that's fine. And we should be building it so that division rivals happen first. And if they're the two best teams in the NHL, too bad.
Too bad.
Watch it in the beginning, right?
Okay, yeah.
Like it's gonna, whether you have to play that team in the first round or you play them in the fourth round. I think you have to play them either way.
Yeah. See, so as long as I've been watching hockey, I've seen 3 different versions of the playoffs. One was adjusted for the COVID season, but so there's a 1v8, there's a wild card, and then there's the play-in. I see pros in all 3, so I have a hard time deciding which one's the best, honestly. The reason I like 1v8 is the amount of underdog upsets you will see. Like this, absolutely dominant one seed. I guess we kind of saw it with Tampa and Columbus a couple years ago in the wild card
Panthers
situation.
just now.
Yeah, the Panthers. Yeah, that's right. But yeah, like the 1v8 seed where like the 1 is just taken down by an 8 seed. I love that because all of a sudden now the rest of the playoff the rest of the teams in the playoffs are, put on alert. So they're watching out for like this big bad team that just suddenly took down the number 1 seed. Like I love that. And it happens every once in a while with the wild card, but like I don't know. I don't really care too much for the division rivals thing first round because for me it's like be whoever you get matched up with. So
really, so for you, let's say we're Sharks fans, right? So Sharks versus LA in the first round is the same to you as like Sharks versus Buffalo.
Yeah. Well, why would that happen?
Let's just say in some scenario, like some people want 1-16, right? In that case, it would be like across the conference.
No, wouldn't
even.
it be like 1-8 for both conferences? 1-8 for both conferences? Like how?
Okay, yeah, sure. Let's take the 1-8, right? So Sharks versus Kings is the same to you as like Sharks versus Jets.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's still an opponent. It's still a team that made it into the the playoffs.
But
beat them.
But that history like between the Kings and that California rivalry, don't you want that in the first round?
If the Kings make it to the second round, sure, we might see that.
Oh,
you know what I mean? So like, or if the Sharks make it to the second round, sure, we might see that. Then it would be, you know what I mean? Like we would see that division. I don't know. I almost think having the division rival later makes it more anticipating because more people tune into the playoffs the later it goes on. So now you have these great rivalry matchups. I don't know.
As someone who watches a lot of hockey, I think my interest is peaked in the first round and the final. I think rounds 2 and 3 it lulls a little.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, because you get saturated with so many games, right?
Got it.
Especially when like your team is not in it.
Yeah.
Then you're like, okay, I'm just watching for hockey, but I'm kind of getting saturated with all these finals, and there's a little bit of exhaustion that sets in, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think having the division matchup be in the first round,
mm-hmm.
and then having the Stanley Cup matchup be something rare because it's across conference, I think is great.
Yeah, I agree with you on that point, but I think for me personally, I tune in more to rounds 3 and 4. Especially if it's teams that I haven't seen, win before. And when it's, the same dynasty teams over and over, then it's like, okay, sure. But like when it's like brand new teams, then it's all of a sudden a lot more interesting. And I find myself tuning into rounds 3 and 4.
Okay.
I did want to talk about the play-in. What was your thoughts about that? Do you think that only worked because it was COVID season, or because the NBA recently implemented that as a full-time thing after the COVID season?
Yeah. I think it's cool is like a gimmick. It kind of worked for that one time. I would be more rather than like a play-in, I'd rather be more interested in like a pick your opponent type. Where if you're the first seed in a division, you can pick who to play out of the wild card. It's not just based off points.
Wouldn't that be like extremely biased though? Like you would just pick the team that's not as good, right?
But this is hockey, right? Any team can beat anyone on any night. You have to think about the matchup.
That's true.
And then imagine you're the wildcard team that got picked. You're like, oh, you think you can beat us?
Yeah. Oh.
I would love pick your opponent more than a play-in.
Oh. That's an idea right there. Damn, Gary Bettman, take some notes.
So you still have to qualify for the playoffs.
Yeah.
But if you are not in a division spot, you're in a wildcard spot, you don't know who your opponent is until your opponent picks.
Yeah. Damn. Actually, yeah, that's a good idea. Because if you're the wildcard team too, you're like, now you have something to fight for because they just basically, the number one team basically told you were shit. And that's why I want to play you.
Yeah.
Damn.
It gives them something to fight for.
Yeah.
And if you're the number one team, you better freaking win.
Yeah.
Because you're going to look real dumb if you lose, right?
That would make for so much like Twitter beef if Twitter's still a thing next year.
Yeah. Threads beef.
Yeah. Threads beef. Oh yeah. That's a great idea actually.
All right.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna have to agree with that one.
To wrap up my point, I think the NHL has nailed the best way to watch and enjoy a hockey season. Mm-hmm. And that is why I keep watching the NHL.
Gotcha.
How about you? What is your favorite thing about the NHL?
I got two, but the first one perfectly segues into what we were talking about, and it's that winning the Stanley Cup is really fucking hard. Like it's definitely a lot of people refer to it as the hardest trophy to win in sports. And it is. I really think it is. Like it's very easy for. Remember when it was like what Golden State Cleveland for like 4 years in a row or something like that, and everyone predicted that.
Yeah, but I don't think you can discount the achievements of those athletes.
I'm not.
Yeah.
But as a fan, for me personally, it got really boring to watch because, like, sure, you would watch the 82 games of the season. You would watch the playoffs pretending like you didn't know what the finals matchup was going to be, and you knew what was going to happen in the finals minus the 2016 season. And it's just like, dude, but like, who cares at that point?
To play devil's advocate, isn't that just the nature of basketball? Because hockey has a little bit more randomness to it, right?
Right. And that's part of the reason winning the Stanley Cup is so hard. And that's, I mean, I guess you could argue that's part of hockey and not just the NHL.
Mm-hmm.
But still, like, it doesn't change the fact that the cup is really hard to win compared to like the Vince Lombardi or whatever other trophy.
Like, you could have everything you need on paper and you could still lose.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not just a lot of effort and heart. It really does take luck. And if you don't have that luck, I'm sorry. Too bad. Yeah. But
see Boston Bruins 2023.
And what was the 17 seconds? Two goals. What was that? 2015 that happened? No, 2013. 2013 against Chicago.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh,
sorry,
man. Yeah, man. Boston's not had it good except for 2011.
They got one. All right.
They got one, I guess. Yeah, with Zdeno Chara. Yeah.
And 2019, where Brad Marchand made the worst line change of all time.
Yeah. Oh wow. Damn. All right. Sorry, Bruins fans.
If Boston had lost in 2011, they'd be right with the Sharks and Leafs and all these jokes.
Right. Yeah. Oh, wow.
That one cup saved them.
I had no idea there's so much Boston content. Mm-hmm. Either way, winning the Stanley Cup is really hard, and there's a lot of factors that have to perfectly play in. And I think that's why it's so entertaining, because it sucks. It really does suck when your team loses and you're heartbroken, unless it's like a team that just barely made it in on the skin of their teeth and then kind of like saw it coming. You saw elimination basically coming.
I mean, but that's not always the case. Columbus.
It's not always the case,
Florida.
Right. And that's exactly why when the trophy is so hard to win, it's so much more entertaining. I don't know about you personally. I was rooting for Tampa in 2019, and to watch them get eliminated, all of a sudden I was more invested in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, are you kidding me? Like, that's probably the greatest choke in North American. If it wasn't for the 2 cups after, or the 3 finals appearances after.
Yeah, they really made up for it.
Yeah, they made up for it, right? But like, that would be the biggest choke in North American sports history that I can think of, at least. Or biggest upset, collapse, whatever you want to call it. So the point is, having a trophy that's so difficult to win and needs all these extra factors to get to that victory makes it so much more entertaining to watch. And sure, it might be the nature of hockey, it might be whatever it may be. It doesn't change the fact that it's really entertaining. And because of that too, we've seen first ballot Hall of Famers never win a ring. We've also seen Patrick Maroon win 3 rings in a row. Just somehow.
Yeah. Phil Kessel.
Yeah, Phil Kessel. Yeah, he's got what? Yeah, he's got 3 now too, right?
Yeah, Chris Kunitz has what, 5?
Yeah, something like that. But you're gonna remember Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin first, and they have 3, I think. Yeah. Yes. So point still stands. There's players that have like anywhere from 2 to 5, but you will never remember their name post retirement. There's some that have 0 and are for sure going in the Hall of Fame, and you'll remember them forever. Like, for example, Hank or Joe Thornton, or I mean, you can go off listing off a bunch of them, but there's so many players that have a ring, and it's not about whether they deserve it or not. You know what I mean? So
then let me ask you this. Do we overvalue a Stanley Cup when evaluating a player's career?
In the NHL, some fans are definitely dicks about it. Not gonna lie, and it's usually the teams like fans that are like have dynasties, so they have like something to pound their chest about. But I don't think so. In hockey, I don't think so. In basketball, I think it might a little bit.
So you're saying in basketball they overvalue a championship?
No, you need that championship to be like truly validated. Like if you're like one of those all-time players, but you don't have a ring, are you really an all-time player?
I mean, is Charles Barkley an all-time player?
That's a rare exception. I feel like that's so much more rare in the NBA than it is in the NHL. Because there's probably so many Hall of Famers that have never won a ring, and there's some that got really close and then retired. You know what I mean? And like, for example, what was it? Raymond Bourque, the iconic call when I think it was Colorado's first cup.
Yeah.
And like, Raymond Bourque is a Stanley Cup champion. He struggled so much, and he finally got to that point from a trade deadline acquisition. Yeah. But
even in the 15 years we've watched hockey, I can name players off the top of my head, right? Like you said, Joe Thornton, Henrik Lundqvist, to Sedin brothers.
Yeah. Imagine how legendary. I'm not saying Patrick Marleau's career wasn't legendary, but imagine if he won a ring in 2016.
Yeah,
it'd be like he would be considered one of like, I don't know, he'd be up there with Gordie Howe and stuff, right?
So then, are you saying that we do overvalue a championship
in hockey? Yes. Yeah. In hockey, for sure. Yeah, because again, when there's so many factors that are required to win a cup, luck, effort. I mean, literally, like if the team is lights out but the goalie shits the bed, what are you supposed to do about that?
Yeah.
Or if the puck like bounces off the camera hole glass and suddenly ends up in your net in like a Game 7 overtime that you were absolutely dominating, what are you supposed to do about that?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, and I think people understand that, and there's still so much respect amongst those Hall of Famers, even if they have 0 rings, and that's kind of what I love about the NHL too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the other one is not related to playoffs or winning at all, but it's more so like the actual culture around the art of the NHL. And when I say the art, I literally mean like the art, like the jerseys, the logo, like and the actual team. And I don't know if you know of any other sport or any other league, but I've never seen players not step on the locker room logo until I started watching like NHL hockey.
The funny thing about that is I haven't seen other sports put the logo in the middle of the floor.
I have.
Really?
Yeah, or it's like embedded in, like if it's a home arena thing. I guess they travel with it too, right?
Mm-hmm.
The away teams, but like it's even then they make sure the logo's front and center for everyone to see in a away locker room too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's pretty cool just in of itself.
Yeah, the respect for the logo.
Yeah.
And I think jerseys aren't supposed to go on the floor, that type of thing.
Yeah, when a fan throws a jersey on the ice, that's like all-time disrespect, right? Like you've seen that there's been like dark days in Edmonton, maybe it happened in Vancouver too. Toronto. And it's just like that is the ultimate sign of disrespect. That's like not even I'm not mad at you, I'm just straight up disappointed at this point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that hurts. But there is like significance behind it, whether it's considered, classless or not. That's a whole separate conversation. You can go on for hours about that.
Or if each of these incidents we mentioned were warranted, that's a whole other discussion.
Yeah,
right?
That too. Yeah, that's a whole separate discussion. But the point is, there's clear significance and understanding. There's an understanding that jersey, that crest, that means something between the players and the fans and the whole entire organization. And kind of along the same lines, hockey jerseys are like yourself. You collect hockey jerseys. They're considered art pieces at this point. They're not just clothing, right? Mm-hmm. And there's a big culture around, collecting and signing and designing logos and stuff, especially on Reddit and Instagram nowadays. Like everyone's got access to the software and they make, their mock-up jerseys and stuff. Before Seattle's jersey was launched, there was some guy who like blew up on Reddit because he like recreated some Seattle logo or something like that. Yeah,
there was a whole bunch of fan concepts, even for Vegas, before they announced like the name or the team name. Even people were coming up with concepts.
Yeah,
and I think because one, the jersey itself is so big. Like in other sports like soccer and basketball, there's just less room to work with, right?
Yeah,
and then two, I think in what you're saying is the tradition.
Mm-hmm.
Like the other place I've seen this is baseball. Where they really value what the jersey design is like, and jerseys are collectibles and things like that. You know?
I've actually never asked it. Like, why did you choose specifically like hockey jerseys? You can collect any jersey. Like, you can collect basketball jerseys, baseball jerseys, even cricket jerseys. I mean, Formula One. Like, you can collect anything, but you specifically chose hockey. Why is that?
Well, my love of hockey started before my love of jersey collecting. That's a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But also, what I love about jerseys, like that one, the reverse retro from the Colorado is one of my favorites, is just what you can do with a hockey jersey in terms of how the numbers are placed, how the logos are designed. And hockey jersey designers usually take history into account, right?
Yeah.
This is reverse retro. That's the Nordiques logo where Colorado relocated from, right? And there's always usual meaning to all of these elements in a jersey.
Yeah.
So that's what I really love is the lore, I should say, behind a jersey.
Yeah.
And I love how they, like, I think you're saying the crest is front and center, prominently displayed.
Yeah.
Football. The crest is barely on the jersey, right? The numbers on both sides.
Yeah, I don't think they put the crest on the jersey. Yeah.
I think they just write the team name, right?
Yeah, and like it's on the helmet, maybe.
Sometimes, yeah. So, I don't know. I think it's just aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, I never thought about it that the jerseys are not just it's not just like a piece of art, but there's like a story behind it too. Like, I mean, there's so many like jerseys that have, I think, I can't remember. I think it might be the Devils where they put like the years they won the Stanley Cup inside the collar or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the Kings, at some point they put two crowns for the two cups.
I have
they
that
won.
jersey, the King Stadium series.
Yeah,
jersey,
yeah.
has
that
the
one.
two crowns on the collar.
Yeah, I'm like, that's awesome. That's so sick. There's little subtle meanings. There's like details within all of them that like really mean something. So I kind of understand a little bit why the fans are suddenly getting so pissed about, ads on the jerseys, because it is kind of like, it's also almost like a sponsored YouTube video. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's like you're watching something really sick and then all of a sudden Raid Shadow Legends shows up, which if you want to sponsor us, we'll take it. But like,
NordVPN.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, dude, come on, man. Like we had something nice here.
Yeah.
Like I get your bag or whatever, but yeah, hockey jerseys itself are, the art around it and the culture that was built around it is pretty incredible. I haven't seen it in other sports. I've seen people in the streetwear fashion industry. I saw one today. I follow a guy from Atlanta. He was like rocking a Sharks jersey as part of his outfit.
Yeah.
He probably doesn't watch hockey, but he's got a Sharks jersey and he has a Blackhawks jersey in one of his other pictures. I'm like, dude, that's sick.
A few years ago, the Backstreet Boys just wore jerseys on stage for their whole tour.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure like One Direction did it for every arena they went to.
Yeah,
I think Post did it recently, actually, in
Mm-hmm.
St. Louis or wherever else. But
Snoop Dogg.
Yeah, Snoop Dogg too. I mean, he's very much into like,
he's a proper hockey fan.
Yeah. But he like takes whatever too. Like he just be doing side quests at this point. But it's like, I don't know. But yeah, like there's a lot of like respect around the crest, and speaking of respect around the crest, I have never seen any other like league have players that so much respect the name on the front of the jersey more than the one on the back. It doesn't matter what team it is.
I'd say the NHL even goes a little too far in doing that.
You
NHL players, like where they don't show their personality, right? They give team friendly answers in interviews all the time. I could use a little more drama.
You think?
Yeah.
Like okay, so what's overstepping then?
Like, I understand, like, they'll never badmouth the team, or they'll say, yeah, we have to respect our teammates and things like that. But they also kind of take it too far into every answer is just pucks in deep, you know?
Okay.
Like, I get that.
Yeah.
So I think there's a little bit of a balance between, railing against your team and, just giving some personality in your answer.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, wasn't Phil Kessel pretty much like screw Toronto once he was like traded out?
Yeah, maybe, but he's not on that team anymore, right?
Right. Fair enough. Yeah, I guess that's true.
There's a lot of players that have been less than happy about teams that they've left.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's true. I think, what was it? There's Jeff Carter, I believe it was, when he was on Columbus, he refused to play for that team. And that's pretty rare. You don't hear of situations like that.
So that would get into like kind of disrespect, right? Or like what Pierre-Luc Dubois did to get out of Columbus.
Yeah. That's very, like, that doesn't happen very often.
Sorry, Columbus.
Yeah, damn, it's Columbus all the time. It doesn't happen very often. And if it does happen, like, for example, the Jonathan Drouin situation in Tampa, or Shane Wright in Seattle, you know what I mean? Like, they get benched or they get sent to the minors or something. Yeah. Like, there's repercussions for not putting the team before your last name, essentially.
Yeah. And like you said, in a sport such as hockey, where everything has to line up for you to win.
Yeah.
I think that kind of matters a little more.
Yeah. Right. Like, if you take the NBA, like, we can all sit here and pretend that when LeBron goes to a team that he's just a player on the team. No. He's the coach, he's the GM, he's the PR team, he's everyone. You know what I mean? Yeah. And like
I mean, stars in the NBA are like that.
Yes, they have,
like, LeBron's the most famous.
Yes.
But every major star in the NBA does that for their team, right?
Yes, but they have too much power, in my opinion. I love the fact that they have, like, they can market themselves. Yes. There's no puck or balls in deep. I don't know what the answer would be. Balls in deep. Yeah. That's probably not the right one. But I love that they can market themselves as individuals, but like, they have too much power. You know what I mean? And it's just, it ruins a team chemistry, in my opinion. Whereas in hockey, it's more like, if you want to be like that, get the hell out of here, basically. So
yeah. I think it's also the fact that in hockey, an individual player cannot have the same amount of effect that an individual player can in a game of like basketball. Yeah. Right? Just because, like, Connor McDavid is the best player in the NHL. He plays how many minutes a night? 18? 19?
something like that.
Max, what, 1/3 of a game if you round up?
Yeah.
LeBron plays what, 60% of a game?
Yeah.
70% of a game?
Yeah. I mean, it's also, hockey's a much more physically demanding
I'm
sport.
not saying Connor McDavid should play more minutes.
Yeah.
But the impact that one player can have is much less unless you're a goalie.
Yeah. Yeah, that is true. That is true. The whole super team strategy never works in hockey. I think for a minute, maybe Toronto tried to do that, at least with their offense, where they, build this offensive core that was so strong that was like score 9 goals a game kind of thing. It still didn't work. Clearly, it hasn't worked in the past couple of years.
Yeah, you need balance.
Yeah, you need that balance. It's just not, you can't load up on one and just expect it to work out unless you have just a god tier goalie that just comes out big in the playoffs.
Yeah, the modern blueprint is Tampa, right? Elite center, elite winger, elite D, elite goalie.
Yeah, that is true. Elite general manager too. Elite coach. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, but general manager and coach come after because they built a team that's this elite.
That's
right?
true. That is true. Yeah.
You need, every position needs to be strong.
Yeah. And the thing is, Tampa in a way reminded me of Golden State for a while. And in the sense that they were predominantly built and not bought, I think. They weren't like, it wasn't a whole bunch of trade acquisitions. Obviously there were trades, but a lot of it was homegrown talent or drafted talent. You know what I mean?
I mean, Stamkos, Kucherov, Hedman, Vasilevsky, all draft picks, right?
Yeah. And those are like the big guys basically.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
point included, I should say.
Yeah. Point included. Yeah. And so when you have a team that's built like that, that is the closest you'll get to a super team in the NHL, but nobody's wearing like all Stamkos jerseys. They're wearing Hedman jerseys. They're wearing Kucherov jerseys, Point jerseys, Vasilevsky jerseys. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, there's no player in the NHL who is more important than the logo on the front.
Yeah.
Ever. Mm-hmm. And I love that about hockey. So, yeah.
Yeah. The tradition is very strong.
Yeah.
And I kind of wish they would market it a little bit more.
Yeah. That's that might be a great segue to next week, actually.
Yes. Little preview for next week.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else you want to say about how much you love?
No, I think I talked a lot this episode, but yeah, I'm excited about this series. We'll definitely get a little bit more personal anecdotes in as well.
Yeah, and we'll be doing more episodes like these throughout the summer, so you can get to know us a little bit more.
Yeah.
Discuss about hockey when there's no hockey games going on.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll bring you right up into training camp in the preseason.
Mm-hmm.
So keep it tuned here. This has been Glass Seats. We are available on Spotify, Apple, and Google. We are now also on YouTube at Spud Network Podcast is the handle. If you could leave us a rating, review, comment, whatever it is, really helps us out and helps us grow the show. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Peace.